I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since it's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your heart touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. Cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road and overdrive, baby. Hit the road and overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your heart touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. But when I let you go this time, I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be. So many people try to get you. I think I speak for everyone when I say, woo! What happened yesterday? What was that? My prediction, and I thought I was being generous, my prediction was Will Levis would go 12 of 20 for $140, 1 pick, and a rushing touchdown. And I thought I was being generous. I could have never imagined that he would put on the performance that he did yesterday against the Atlanta Falcons. I could have never imagined that what happened yesterday would happen. 4 touchdowns. And let me tell you something. I've seen people who have said, yeah, but, Marcus Mariota had like 5 in his first game and things didn't work out with him. Okay, yeah, you're right. Marcus Mariota, we were all encouraged after his debut that he was going to be the long-term answer for the Titans and that it didn't work out. It's had some good times with him, but it wasn't like for good, for forever, But here's the difference. If you go back and you watch Marcus in that first game he ever played in where he threw all the touchdowns, they were all, I'm not taking anything away from him, but it was like the slant to Kendall Wright where he then ran 50 yards. The dump off to whoever our running back was at the time, and I think it was Bishop Sankey, ran it in. It was, it was all like dinks and dunks. This yesterday was Will Levis throwing the ball down the field, chunking that thing down the field, and like legitimate great throws, great plays made. And seriously, XD Gamer 22 has just absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about how it's still the Jags division. Jags are good this year. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but he's saying y'all probably won't build on it because y'all only won because Ritter got hurt. Desmond Ritter, who absolutely was awful. The Falcons were actually better once he got out of the game in the second half, considerably better. No one can lead the ball downfield for the win, especially Desmond Ritter is what he said. He said no one can lead the ball downfield for the win. And you're telling me Ritter would have saved the day if he'd been in there? Give me a break. The Falcons were considerably better with Taylor Heineke than they were with Desmond Ritter, but I'll talk about the Falcons later. Will Levis, I was so freaking impressed with this guy. First of all, as you all know, the Titans won 28-23 over the Atlanta Falcons. They are now 3-4 and travel to Pittsburgh Thursday night to play the Steelers. But Will Levis is the story coming out of yesterday. And we're going to talk about all elements of this. We're going to talk about how Mike Vrabel is acting about it. We're going to talk about what this means for the future, the immediate future, and long term. But for yesterday, it was just unbelievable. I could not believe what I was watching. I first of all, not just the fact that he was making those type of throws, but the fact that they were letting him. I thought that they are going to play the Titans. They're going to play the most conservative style of offense. They are going to do screens. They're going to hand it off like crazy. They're going to not let him throw the ball down the field at all because, they think he's a rookie and whatever. But they let him throw. They let him chunk it downfield. They let him have it. And Vrabel said yesterday, and I agree with this, after the game, he said, we can practice all we want. We can do training camp. We can do, all of the practice reps. But until you get in there, you just don't know. Until you get in the game, until you get in there in live action in a regular season game, it's just hard to know whether you've got it or not. And I agree with that. I would imagine that is true. Practice and all that's great, but there's no substitute for real, in-the-game, real-time stuff. And I thought Will Levis was great yesterday. Let's talk about it. 4 touchdown passes, 3 to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins had no touchdowns as a Titan coming into yesterday. Now he has 3. DeAndre Hopkins is, I know we're talking about Levis here, but DeAndre Hopkins is still a top-tier wide receiver in this league. He is still a great wide receiver.
and he can still go. And it looks like the Titans have finally landed a veteran wide receiver who's going to come in and do the job. I mean, we missed on Julio, we missed on Randy Moss, we missed on Andre Johnson, we missed on Eric Decker, but it appears that finally we have hit on one of these veteran receivers. And this is why I said all week, I don't want to trade DeAndre Hopkins, because first of all, Levis coming in, Hopkins can really be a help to him. And even next year, Hopkins is supposed to be back next year. I want to see him back. I don't want to trade him. I want DeAndre Hopkins on the team again next year because he could still go. And that's a great foundation to build your receiving core around. So I do not think the Titans should trade DeAndre Hopkins. And I said that last week. D-Hop's the man. And I love the way he carries himself. I love his swagger. I love his confidence. 3 touchdown receptions yesterday. He might have gotten away with a little OPI on the first one, but 3 touchdown receptions yesterday. Great stuff from DeAndre Hopkins. And then I believe Will Levis' best throw of the day was his 4th and final touchdown to Nick Westbrook-Akine. That throw, rolling right, throwing back across his body, across the field, probably a 50-plus yard throw through the air, right in the breadbasket. I mean, beautiful, beautiful play. One that if Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen made that play, SportsCenter would be going crazy. They would be absolutely beside themselves on the top 10 plays talking about it. Now, here's the thing you got to keep in mind. He had a great, great day, but it should have been better because Chig Okonkwo, toward the end of the first half, dropped a wide open pass that would have at least been a huge play, if not a touchdown. I don't know, how many defenders Atlanta had back there because I couldn't see, but I mean, it would have at least been a huge play to Chig Okonkwo, and Chig just dropped it, right? And then I think on the second possession of the game, that throw to Treylon Burks, a beautiful throw in double coverage. And you know what? I know the Atlanta defender made a good play. I know that. But man, I would love to see a first-round draft pick make that catch. Because you know who would have made that catch? He's wearing number 11 and he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He would have made that catch. I would love to see our first-round pick make a difficult catch every now and then, okay? But I digress. That was a beautiful throw. So what I'm saying is, as good as his day was, Will Levis, it should have been better. Needed a little help from his guys around him. But I'll tell you what else I liked from Will Levis. Outside of the touchdown passes, outside of the great throws he made, I loved the poise that he had in this game. It didn't feel like he was a rookie at all. It sure didn't feel like he was a rookie starting his first game against a great defense. Sure didn't feel like that. I mean, this guy, he came in, looked completely under control, had command of the huddle, had command of the offense from the word go, and you could tell. And I think that there were certain plays, such as, I think it was in the third quarter, Atlanta brought a blitz, and the guy just came through untouched. And normally, that would have been a sack. Normally, that play would have been a sack and a major loss of yardage would have killed the drive. Instead, he makes a smart play, doesn't panic, throws it to the feet of Derrick Henry, I believe it was, gets rid of the ball, lives to fight another day. That's huge. And that's a smart play. That's a veteran play by a guy playing in his first start as an NFL quarterback. Very smart play. I think about really the last meaningful offensive play the Titans had in the game, which was, I think, 3rd and 4. A first down would have really iced the game because the Falcons only had 1 timeout left. The Titans ran a play fake and were going to try to throw. It was an aggressive play call. I liked the play call. I liked the fact that they were going to be aggressive and try to throw the ball to convert that first down. You want to know why? Because A, I just like the aggressive play call. But B, that means that they were watching and they trusted Will Levis to do the right thing. They trusted their rookie quarterback to do the right thing in that situation. And really, he did, because Atlanta had it defended. It wasn't there. And so instead of trying to panic and do too much and maybe turn it over, or even if he'd have just thrown it away and it had been an incomplete pass, that wouldn't have been good, because then the Falcons would have been able to keep a timeout. But instead, he hits the deck, takes the sack. Yeah, it sucks to take the sack. Yeah, it sucks to lose yards, but it kept the clock rolling and it forced the Falcons to use that last timeout. And think about what happens in a little bit after that. The Falcons get the ball back. They have 4th and 1, and they don't have time to huddle up and, get a play called in. They've got to hurry guys in. It's total chaos. It ends up being a dropped pass, and the game's over. If they had had that timeout, they would have probably called it right there and had time to really huddle up and think about it. So that's a great decision by Will Levis, and he had a few of these yesterday, whether it be dump-offs when it wasn't there downfield. He just showed great poise. And the offensive line, yeah, I think the offensive line played better yesterday, but I think, it's what we talked about. Ryan Tannehill is just, he's never had the best pocket presence anyway, but on top of that, especially 35 years old, coming off of a big injury with a bad offensive line, he can't avoid some of these sacks. What I saw yesterday was a guy, maybe it's because he went to Kentucky and he had a terrible offensive line there. This Will Levis is able to make it work. He's able to not panic when the pocket starts collapsing around him. I loved what I saw from Will Levis, and I am very encouraged about both the immediate future and the future of this team, because I saw somebody say this yesterday on Twitter. If he is the guy, if he continues to do this kind of stuff, and you've got your guy at quarterback, man, that opens up so many possibilities. And I know we don't want to think about the offseason right now because it's still so early in this season and we're encouraged by what we saw yesterday. But think about this. If going into the offseason that Will Levis is your guy at quarterback and you're going to build around him, man, you've got the second most cap space of any team in the NFL to go get free agents, to make trades, not to mention the draft and things like that. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless. We talk about rebuilds. It could be even if it is a rebuild, it could be a little faster rebuild than what you would think if you have him as your guy. And so, we've got to see if this can continue. We've got to see if Will Levis can continue to do what he's doing. And he's going to have an immediate test this Thursday. I'm not saying the Steelers are like a top 10 team in the league, but this is prime time on the road. The Titans have yet to win a road game this year. On the road, in prime time, in a hostile atmosphere. Y'all know those Pittsburgh Steeler fans. And listen, Mike Tomlin's a great coach. He's got a scrappy crew who, finds ways to win games. Okay, yesterday was ugly in the rain against Jacksonville, but Pittsburgh, they find ways to win games against all odds. And let me tell you something, after losing yesterday, they're going to be desperate for a win because they're in a great division with the Browns, the Bengals, and the Ravens. And to lose 2 games in 5 days for them, that would not be good. So Pittsburgh's going to come out and they're going to be giving you all they got. So I'm interested to see what Will Levis does on Thursday night at Pittsburgh. It is another test for him. It is an immediate test for him to figure it out on the road when people are cheering and it's a hostile atmosphere against, a team that finds ways to win, a well-coached team. It's going to be an interesting test, but I loved what I saw from Will Levis yesterday from start to finish. Really he had one play there in the fourth quarter, where he looked like a rookie, and it was when he almost threw an interception, rolling to his left, pressure, tried to force it to somebody. But other than that, just a very poised, and I like his confidence. I like, his passion you saw yesterday on the sidelines and, on the field, just having a good time and bringing out the best of his teammates. And I told you guys this. I think I said it after the Cleveland game. When you make a swap at quarterback and that quarterback is able to come in and play well and kind of bring a little fire to the table, it reinvigorates the whole team. Because look what happened yesterday. Will Levis came in here and threw that first touchdown to Hopkins, and all of a sudden, the Titans' pass rush came back to life. Guys were flying around on defense. Offensive line was playing better. Derrick Henry, who everybody was talking about trading this week, very quietly, Derrick Henry had over 100 yards rushing yesterday against a Falcons defense that really ain't been giving up that kind of. So, I mean, that's a credit to the offensive line, and that's a credit to Derrick Henry. I mean, everybody's talking about Will Levis, but don't forget, Derrick Henry put in a good performance yesterday. Obviously, you got some plays from Spears, too. If we can just get Chig Okonkwo and Traylon Burks to kind of wake up from their slumber a little bit, then we'll be cooking. But I thought that, and hey, credit to Nick Westbrook-Akine as well. That was a great catch on the touchdown. Even Kyle Phillips making plays yesterday. So when you have a young quarterback who gets in there and plays well, it reinvigorates the entire team. It reinvigorates the entire team, and all of a sudden, everybody gets a little pep in their step. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. And now, it is Monday, October 30th. The trade deadline is tomorrow. The Titans have obviously already traded Kevin Byard. I didn't hear anybody talking about how much they missed Kevin Byard yesterday. It doesn't mean we don't. Obviously, we love KB. Hope nothing but the best for him. But that Byard trade seems like a long time ago, is all I'm going to say. After yesterday, I told you guys, I said what happens on Sunday against the Falcons is going to be a determining factor on what they do at the trade deadline. Trade deadline's tomorrow, and I think Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins are off the table. I think those two guys, it would be, I said I didn't want to trade them before yesterday. I definitely don't want to trade them now. Even as far as guys like Danico Autry or Tier Tart or anybody like that, I don't think that I don't think that anybody's going to get traded now. If you lose yesterday, maybe, but I don't think anybody's getting traded except for one name that comes to mind, and that is Ryan Tannehill. I could see Tannehill getting traded. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But I could see it happening because look at a situation like the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles yesterday, and I hate to see that, by the way, and I wish him the best. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles yesterday, and the Vikings are a team who have won 3 games in a row. They've won 3 games in a row. All of a sudden, they've got life in the NFC. They've got one of the best receivers in football, Justin Jefferson, getting ready to come back. They've got a better offensive line than the Titans do. Could that be a situation where Ryan Tannehill could go be successful? I think there is something to be said for the possibility of the Minnesota Vikings calling about Ryan Tannehill. Now, as far as these other teams, I saw some people mention the Falcons. The Falcons benched Desmond Ridder yesterday. They benched Desmond Ridder. They said he was in concussion protocol, but that dude had already cleared concussion protocol when he came in for the second half. He was playing awful and he got benched. I'm telling you, that was a case of them wanting to see what they had with their backup. Now, if the Falcons have given up on Desmond Ridder, I don't think Ryan Tannehill would give the Falcons anything different than what they would get with Taylor Heineke. I don't think, other than the fact that Arthur Smith has coached Ryan Tannehill, obviously, in Tennessee, and, he has worked with Tannehill, if it's worth that, but I think if I'm the Falcons, I would stick with Heineke. Some people have mentioned the Browns with all the chaos with Deshaun Watson being hurt. First of all, when Deshaun Watson's healthy, the Browns are going to put him in there. It doesn't matter how bad he's performing. They've paid too much money. He's going to be their guy. And when he's not their guy, when he's hurt like he is now, I personally think PJ Walker is giving the Browns enough. I think PJ Walker is playing well enough for Cleveland that if Deshaun Watson can't go, they're just going to stick with him. The other team people have brought up in regards to Tannehill, my name is Brad, by the way, Titan Fox. But the other team people have mentioned are the Jets. The Jets were adamant that they were sticking with Zach Wilson even when things looked bad for them, and now they're winning with Zach Wilson. It's ugly as sin, but like they're winning. So I just don't think the Jets. I think the Jets are going to stick with Zach Wilson. I think if there is a team willing to trade for Tannehill, it would be the Minnesota Vikings after what happened yesterday with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if the Titans would want to trade Ryan Tannehill. I don't know. I don't know because. Well, that's a good segue because I was going to talk about Malik Willis next. I don't know if the Titans would want their quarterback roster to just be Levis and Willis. I think they would like to keep a veteran presence from somebody in there. So I don't think the Titans are looking to trade Tannehill. I think they don't want to. But if a team like Minnesota is willing to give you something of value, I think it's possible. Now, let's talk about Malik Willis and what happened yesterday. Malik Willis, the team, I don't know if you've watched the post-game press conferences from Levis, from Henry, from Hopkins. They didn't appreciate the fact that Malik Willis was booed yesterday at the game. They were very adamant about the fact that they didn't like that at all. They stuck up for Malik. First of all, a very cool thing of them to do. A very cool thing of them to stick up for their guy. It's good to see. Here's my take on the Malik Willis thing yesterday. We spent all week being told by Mike Vrabel that we were going to see both quarterbacks. And we all knew that was a stupid idea. We all knew it. In the NFL, both quarterbacks coming in and out, that's dumb. Okay. So you come into yesterday and we're all already on edge because we're like, hey, let's not have both quarterbacks in. That's a dumb idea and it's going to cost us. So then we get in the game and 4 plays into the game, they put Malik in there after Levis had just gotten a first down on a QB sneak. So here we go. We're off to the races. We've got our first down of the game. Then we bring in Malik and the snap. Well, I mean, it was a high snap. Malik can't get the snap. He can't recover the ball. So then the Falcons get the ball pretty much in the red zone and it translates to points for the Falcons right off the bat. Okay? And of course, people are frustrated because it was so predictable that this was a bad idea. And you can blame whoever you want to for the snap. Obviously, you can blame Aaron Brewer. It was a high snap. You can blame Malik because he still should have been able to get it, whatever. But it was chaos. You took out the guy who had just gotten first down. You put in this other guy, and it was complete chaos. Snaps all over the place. Can't get, and this is not the first time we've seen this, by the way. There were times last year where they put Malik in. Even when Tannehill was starting, they would put Malik in for a specific package, and it's a dropped ball, it's a bad snap, it's a whatever. It's just chaos. Because you're throwing off the groove. You're throwing off what's going on in the game. So then Levis comes out and throws a touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, great. Then we get the ball back. We're in the red zone. We put Malik in again. And that's when the fans started booing. Okay? That's when the fans started booing. And then when I think it was a 4-yard run, Willis up the middle, and then Levis came back in, and everyone cheered. Now, here's what I personally think. I think I can't speak for every fan there, but I think most people were not necessarily booing Malik Willis. I think they were, and I'm going to sound like I'm playing both sides of the fence here, but hear me out. I don't think the fans were necessarily booing Malik Willis. I think they were booing the game plan. I think they were booing the strategy. I think they were booing the fact that Will Levis had just thrown a touchdown. He was playing well. We're marching down the field again, and now we're going to bring in this guy for another package for no reason when we're moving the ball well. The last time he was in here, it was a botched snap, and it was all this craziness. Why are we risking throwing off the whole thing by putting this guy in again? Okay? I think people were booing that. I think people were booing the decision to keep going with the alternating quarterbacks at that point when Will Levis was playing well. Now, with that being said, I totally understand that if you are Malik Willis, it is hard not to take offense to the booing. I get that. It is hard not to take that personally. They're booing the fact that they're putting you in, right? That at the heart of it, the fans are booing the fact that I'm coming into the game. And I get that. I get why he would have been upset. I get why the other players would have been upset, because although I think most fans were trying to just boo, why are we doing this? Why are we putting another guy in? We've got our guy in there who's moving the ball well. Why are we making the switch? Last time we did it, it was a bad snap and it was chaos. Why are we risking this again when we're in the red zone? I know that's what most people were thinking, but I also can see how it could be taken as, from Malik Willis's point of view, they're booing me. They're booing me coming into this game. And by the way, Malik Willis did not check himself into the game. The coaches told him to go in. So it is a tough spot for him to be in, and Malik Willis is a good guy. Okay, we know that. And I have no doubt he has worked hard. He's worked his butt off to be able to contribute to this team, and I do feel for him in that way. That you're being booed because of a game plan that's out of your control. You didn't come up with this game plan. You didn't sign up to be a dueling quarterback with a guy who's doing well. Like, you didn't sign up for that. You didn't, you're doing what you're told. And, so I get, and I like the fact, I guess, that the team would come out and say, we don't appreciate fans doing that. Because, for Will Levis, who's a rookie quarterback who just started his first game, I think that shows leadership. And I think that shows a good team element. I mean, you sure wouldn't want the team being like, haha, they booed Malik. Good. No, you want them to be a team, right? And so I appreciate their stance on it. And although I do think most fans were more so booing the game plan and the strategy, I do understand why it was received the way it was received by Malik and by his teammates. Now let's talk about Vrabel, because he was the one who came up with that game plan to play both guys. When we say they played both guys, I mean, let's call it what it is. Malik Willis played 2 plays. He took 2 snaps yesterday. So let's not act like it was actually back and forth. I mean, it was 2 plays. Vrabel, a lot of people reading a lot of things into the way he behaved. I mean, there's some clips of Vrabel in the tunnel, and when Will Levis came up to go into the locker room after the game, seemed a little cold. And then there was a clip from the locker room of Vrabel's speech, and in the clip they showed he didn't really acknowledge Will Levis. And then there was some other clips of stuff that happened, and and then today we've got Vrabel doing a press conference where he's saying, he's acknowledging that it is a possibility that Will Levis could be the guy going for the rest of the season. But he's also mentioning Tannehill and mentioning when Tannehill gets healthy, we'll see, and a lot of people are up in arms about it. Here's why I'm not. Wesley Barnes is in the chat, diehard Falcons fan. He's upset because he feels like D-Hop should have been called for OPI on the first touchdown he had yesterday. Here's why I don't really read too much into anything Vrabel does or says. In this instance and in all instances, here's why I don't read too much into anything that Vrabel does or says. Because we should by now, he's been the coach of this team for like 6 years. By now, we know what this guy does. He plays his cards unbelievably close to the vest. He's never going to open up very much in press conferences and interviews, anything that's going to end up on social media. This is what he is. This is who he is. He is never going to look at the camera and be like, Will Levis is our guy forever. He's never going to do it. Okay. He's never going to do it. And he's never going to, I saw Mike Herndon on Twitter last night. He put it so perfectly. And I'm going to read this for you. Let me go find this tweet. Because Mike put into words exactly what I was thinking about Vrabel and the way people were talking about it. Mike said, how are people still not used to the Vrabel routine of picking a guy up when he's down and keeping a guy humble when he's up? It's been 6 years of this. This is what Vrabel does. When Christian Fulton goes out and has a bad game, Vrabel kind of talks him up a little bit. Hey, we believe in Fulton. We believe in Christian. We believe he can make plays for us. When Ryan Tannehill had a bad game against, Cleveland and New Orleans earlier this year, hey, Ryan does a good job for us. He's tough. We believe he's going to come back. Okay, when a player's down, he picks him up. When a player's up, he wants to keep him humble a little bit. Will Levis is no exception. I mean, how many times Derrick Henry had a great game, and the first thing Vrabel says is, well, our offensive line played well. He automatically tries to shift this is what he does. I don't know why. I know it's annoying. I'm not saying it's not annoying. I'm not saying that it shouldn't annoy you. I'm just saying this is what he does. This is what he does. It doesn't mean anything. I think Will Levis is a rookie, and I think Will Levis is a guy who does not lack confidence. I think he's got some confidence and some swagger about him, and I think Vrabel probably does want to keep him humble a little bit. Hey, let's not get too big for our britches here after one game and then go to Pittsburgh Thursday and lay an egg. Right? It's a quick turnaround. And Vrabel knows it. Hey, rookie. You got to shift your focus. You got to shift your focus immediately. We got 3 days to prepare for Pittsburgh. You got to shift your focus. So I don't see the point in reading too much into any of this. There are people on Twitter trying to talk about how, Vrabel has an agenda. He wants to put Tannehill back in, but Rand Carthon wants to stick with Levis, and they're going back. It's like you're just creating a narrative based on nothing. You don't know any of these people. You don't know the conversations happening behind closed doors. All I know is that Vrabel's not an idiot. There are some things he does that annoys me, but Vrabel's not an idiot. He watched what happened yesterday, and I think he's not committing to Levis, A, because he doesn't want Levis's head to get too big, and B, what if Levis went out and sucked Thursday night against Pittsburgh? What if he went out and laid an egg Thursday against the Steelers? God forbid. Vrabel's never going to get too caught up in any one moment. He's not going to get caught up in any one moment. Now, we fans, we do. We have the right to do that. But he's a coach. He's not going to do that. So I'm not reading too much into any of this Vrabel, Levis. Does he like him? Does he not? I don't think this is a Jeff Fisher, Vince Young type situation, to put it in Titans terms. You all remember Jeff Fisher and Vince Young. I think Jeff Fisher ruined Vince Young's career, honestly. He ruined his confidence and he ruined his career. I think Vince Young could have probably done more for this organization than he did because Jeff Fisher was not a fan. Okay? I don't think this is a situation like that. Vrabel is not in a position... He is not in a position to be like, his seat's not hot, but it's warm enough that he can't afford to just be like, I'm going to stick with my guy, Tannehill, even though this guy clearly is the guy we need to go with. I cannot believe that that's the decision he would make. So there's my thoughts on that. Now we move on to Thursday. Titans Steelers at Pittsburgh. I mean, listen, we had 2 weeks where we were all in despair after that London game. We had a bye week, then we had the week leading up to this. I mean, it was just as recent as 3 or 4 days ago that we were all thinking that everybody was about to be traded and we were going to be the worst team in the league. We were talking about having the number 1 pick and getting Caleb Williams. I mean, that was just 3 or 4 days ago. Oh, did I not tell you? Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show had some wise words. He said narratives change quick in the NFL. If the Titans go on the road and beat Pittsburgh Thursday, they're 4-4. 2 games back from Jacksonville. Yes, XD Gamer 22. I said the magic word, Jacksonville. You'd be 4-4. You're 500. You've won 2 in a row with your rookie quarterback. That could be a reality. Then you have a mini bye to get some guys healthy. And then you've got a very manageable schedule down the line. Winnable games against Tampa Bay and Carolina and Houston and Indianapolis. It can get interesting here. Within the span of 5 days, we can go from 2-4 to 4-4, just like that. Because as Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show, narratives change quick, for better or for worse, right? So let's see, but it's going to be a tough test. Do not just assume that the Titans are going to go in there and whoop the Steelers. Here's why, because we've seen it all year. The Titans get our hopes up and then they let us down, and then they get our hopes up again and then they let us down. They've already done it like 3 times this year, and we've only played 7 games, right? So don't get your hopes up ever with this team. But, also don't get your hopes up because it's still a rookie quarterback, right? It's still a rookie quarterback. He had a great game yesterday, but he still due an interception, a fumble, a bad throw. Like, it's going to happen at some point, okay? And this is at Pittsburgh. In prime time, well-coached team, kind of desperate for a win. Don't just, based on one performance, mark this off. Because as Wesley said here, Will Levis disaster class coming Thursday. I don't know if I'd say that, but as I said, narratives change quick for better or for worse. Sometimes a team, everybody's talking, think about the 49ers right now, right? 3 weeks ago, they were on top of the world. The 49ers are the best team in the league. They're punching their ticket to the Super Bowl now. Yeah, well, now what? They've lost 3 games in a row. Brock Purdy's not looking good. Narratives change quick, for better or for worse. Look at the Jets. We're talking about them as a number 1 draft pick the other day, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, look at the Jets. Could they make the playoffs? Like, narratives change quick from week to week. The Bills took care of business Thursday night against Tampa Bay, and people have suddenly just forgotten about the fact that they got their butts whooped by the Patriots last week, because narratives change quick. So we're all pumped about Will Levis right now. I'm pumped about Will Levis, and so are you. But this Thursday is going to be a tough test. It's going to be a tough test. Any game on the road in the NFL in prime time is a tough test. But Pittsburgh, y'all know what that stadium's like. Y'all know what that crowd's like. And like I said, the Steelers are going to be desperate for a win. They're in a great division. And, they're in a great division where they can't afford to lose 2 games within 5 days. So they're going to be coming out swinging. And I don't know who's playing quarterback. Kenny Pickett got hurt yesterday. I don't know if it's going to be Pickett. I don't know if it's going to be Trubisky. But you can rest assured Mike Tomlin's going to have a game plan for them. Okay? So, there you go. Charlie had a good point. He said, that's why I pay it no mind. The Jags showed us anything was possible last year. You want to talk about narratives changing quick? The Titans had like a 5-game lead in the AFC South at one point last year, and they ended up not winning the AFC South. Because narratives change quick. And that's a lesson for life, by the way. It's not just football. In life, narratives change quick. Especially with social media. I mean, that applies to football. That applies to everything. From day to day, the story changes. What's important today may not be important tomorrow. What everybody's talking about today, they may not be talking about tomorrow. Back in the day, we used to have the same narrative all the time. You remember when Tebow was in the NFL and kept winning games? Every show you would watch would be like, Tebow! Tebow everywhere! Right? So, but nowadays, day-to-day narratives change. Narratives change. And, in a good way, 4 days ago we were talking about tanking this team, and now all of a sudden we have hope. But I want to say this, though. You talk about hope. Yeah, XD Gamer 22. The Colts don't have a star quarterback. I don't know who you're talking about. XD Gamer says, did the Colts star quarterback play when they played y'all? They don't have a star quarterback. They have a quarterback who's played like in 2 games because he got hurt in every other game he played. Anyway, and I'm not making light of injuries, by the way. I said it then. I hate that the kid's hurt, but to act like he's a star quarterback based on like a one good throw he made or something. But anyway, but yeah, when I think about hope for this team, I'm not just talking about in the immediate future. As I said earlier, if this guy, even if they don't make the playoffs this year, and I don't know if they will. I mean, AFC's great. The Jags are 6-2. Like, I'm not saying Titans are going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're going to have a winning record. I don't know. We've already seen with this team, it goes up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. But if you can get to a point at the end of the year where you can look at Will Levis and say, that's our quarterback going forward. Next year, that's our quarterback, and we're going to build around him the same way the Eagles built around Hurts, the same way the Dolphins built around Tua, the same way the Bengals built around Burrow. We're going to build around him because we've got a bunch of money this offseason, and then we've got the draft picks, whatever. We're going to build around this guy. If you can do that going into this season, if you don't have to worry about the quarterback position this offseason, that would be a great situation. Okay? So, yeah. But let's just stay in the moment here. And as Titan Anderson Sports said, who, of course we love Titan Anderson Sports here on the podcast, Titans have the second most money to spend next season, this offseason coming up. So, even I don't know what's going to happen this year with Levis and the lineup we have this year. I don't know. But what I do know is that I would like to have DeAndre Hopkins back on the team. I'd like to have Derrick Henry back on the team, honestly. I mean, but we'll see about that one. It depends on how much money he wants. But, I think that... Oh, yeah, by the way, Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill has 2 touchdown passes on the year. Levis has 4 in one game. Anyway, let's talk about some of the other games yesterday, because it was an eventful day in the NFL. So, obviously... Titans and Falcons, we've already talked about that. But Dolphins-Patriots, Dolphins got back on track with a win over the Patriots. Patriots got back to their losing ways. And the Dolphins are back cooking again. And as I said last week, I mean, I figured they would get back on track. I was reading Wesley Barnes' comment where he said that's what the Falcons did last year. Had a bunch of cap space to sign people, just decided to throw Ritter out there. Yeah, I mean, Dolphins beat the Patriots 31-17. Jets over the Giants. This is like the worst good game I've ever seen. Who was this guy? This guy playing quarterback for the Giants? Bro, Tommy DeVito, 2 of 7, -1 yards. That was in an NFL game yesterday, and they almost won. Bro. What? Zach Wilson played well. Had a few bad throws, but it was an ugly, rainy game. And the Jets win again in overtime, 13-10. Hey, what a story they are. Jags over the Steelers, another ugly weather game, kind of rain everywhere. Kenny Pickett got hurt. Mitch Trubisky took most of this game. It was ugly. Jags turned the ball over a lot, but they pulled away at the end. So now the Jags are 6-2, and they've won 4 or 5 games in a row. And now they're on a bye. So you can pick a game up on them because they ain't playing nobody this week. But we still got to play them twice anyway, so it doesn't matter. Panthers get their first win of the year. In the battle of the top 2 picks, Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud, the Panthers beat the Texans 15-13. Game-winning field goal at the end. Awesome. Good for Bryce Young. Good for the Panthers. And in comparison, let's look at their numbers here. C.J. Stroud, 16 of 24 for $140. Bryce Young, 22 of 31 for $235 and a touchdown. So, Panthers fans probably feeling a little better about Bryce Young today. Panthers beat the Texans. First win of the year for them. Cowboys beat the Rams 43-20. This game got out of hand fast. And the Cowboys turned the ball over a lot, but they still won 43-20. So the Rams, they're not good enough to beat a team like Dallas. Dallas remains, upper echelon of the league until they get to the playoffs and inevitably lose. The Vikings beat the Panthers 24-10. I think the Packers may be the worst team in the league right now. With the Panthers getting a win this week, I think the Packers could be the worst team in football, and that's a weird thing to say because Green Bay is usually at least okay, but Green Bay is horrible. I mean, this team, Jordan Love is missing throws that I don't even understand. Their receivers aren't good. It's a bad situation there in Green Bay. And the Vikings have now won 3 games in a row. That's what I'm saying. They might be in the market to trade for a quarterback because they can be competitive right now with a good quarterback. Saints beat the Colts 38-27. Probably, got to be Derek Carr's best game as a Saint. The Colts, they're playing with Minshew, who does well for them. But, Saints over the Colts. I think the Colts are just not – they don't have the weapons yet to compete with anybody. But this was the Saints' best game of the year. Eagles over the Commanders 38-31. Commanders lose again. And as I said last week, really feeling bad about my pick of the Commanders making the playoffs. Newsflash, everybody. I know we're all happy about things going on with the Titans right now. Will Levis, how good he played. Hopkins played well. Don't lose sight of the fact that I would say A.J. Brown, probably the best receiver in football right now. Even Tyreek Hill, I don't know if anybody's quite playing at the level of A.J. Brown right now. So eat your heart out, John Robinson. Eagles beat the Commanders 38-31. And there you go. Eagles are probably at the top of the league right now. Seahawks over the Browns 24-20. This was a fun game. The Browns are super competitive. Their defense is so great. Gosh, their defense is good. But, they have a quarterback situation whether Watson's in or not. Watson's not very good. P.J. Walker does the best he can. But Seahawks get the win. And I'm telling you, man, Seattle, it's another quality win for them. Geno Smith playing well. And with the 49ers kind of falling apart like they are, Seahawks might be making a little noise to win that division down the line. We'll see how it plays out. Ravens over the Cardinals 31-24. That score is not really indicative of how not close this game was. The Ravens pretty much had it in hand, especially in the second half. Josh Dobbs, God bless him. It's just there's only so much you can do. But the Ravens remain a contender in the AFC, I think. They beat the Cardinals 31-24. The upset of the day. Broncos over the Chiefs 24-9. What? What is going on? 24-9 Broncos over the Chiefs. Maybe it's because Taylor Swift wasn't there and Travis Kelce just can't play well unless his girlfriend's there. But the Broncos won. It's a shocker. I mean, and the Broncos are 3-5, so I mean, can't really totally rule them out. So they're still they still have a pulse. Bengals over the 49ers 31-17. Third loss in a row for the 49ers. I don't know what's going on, but Brock Purdy does not look like the same guy that he was a month ago. And as far as Cincinnati, I mean, this is kind of what we thought was going to happen. I mean, they got off to that slow start, but now they're rolling. Burrow's looking good. Jamar Chase coming alive, and the Bengals are going to be around. Trust me. And what a thrilling Sunday nighter we had last night. The Chargers over the Bears 30-13. How this game ended up, I mean, in the preseason they probably thought, oh, Justin Fields versus Justin Herbert, this will be great. Yeah, well, I didn't even, when I saw this was the Sunday night game, I was like, man, I'm gonna watch the Lakers. Like, because this was a snooze fest. But the Chargers get a much-needed win. They really needed a win, and they got one. And then, of course, Titans-Falcons. You know, I think what encourages me is, not just that Will Levis put on such a great performance, but, I mean, he did it against a good defense. I didn't feel like people were talking enough in the lead-up to this game about the fact that, like, Will Levis is going to have to make his first start against a good defense, a defense that had been playing extremely well. And so for him to go out and play well against that defense, for Derrick Henry to have 100 yards against that defense, that's a good performance. So we'll see, if it can continue Thursday. I've been hurt too many times by Titans quarterbacks in the past to just assume that he's going to come out and light up Pittsburgh Thursday. But, it's an encouraging thing, and we needed some encouragement, right? I mean, it had been really nothing positive going on surrounding this organization, and now all of a sudden there's a beacon of light in the form of Mayo Willie. So there you go. Thank you guys for joining me for a very great edition of the Two Tone Talk podcast. And I guess I need to make a pick for Thursday, since my next episode will be Friday after the game. So of course I'm going to pick the Titans. You know what? There have been two separate occasions where I have picked against the Titans on this podcast just to try reverse psychology. I picked the Bengals to beat them, and I picked the Falcons to beat them, just to try to get some reverse psychology, and it worked both times. So you know what? I'm sticking with it, and I'm going with the Steelers. The Steelers beat the Titans Thursday night. That's my pick because I want to use some reverse psychology. Thank you guys for joining me on the Two Tone Talk podcast today. I'll be back Friday after the game to talk about, hopefully a win. Please don't let us down, Titans. And I hope everybody has a great week. Happy Halloween tomorrow. Enjoy the spook. Get you some candy, and enjoy the Titans Thursday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you guys. Tighten up. Two Tone Talk podcast, staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be. So many people try to get you to fit their